You know what's fascinating about the modern world? We've built an entire civilization around language. Words, sentences, promises, declarations. And yet, the most honest communication a human being ever delivers has absolutely nothing to do with what comes out of their mouth. Today, I want to talk to you about something that most men are trained, almost programmed to ignore. Something that sits right in front of your eyes every single day, every single interaction. And yet you've been told it's impolite to notice. You've been told it's shallow to interpret. You've been told it doesn't mean what you think it means. I'm talking about clothing. I'm talking about appearance. I'm talking about the places she chooses to be, the energy she chooses to project, and the enormous gap, the canyon, between what she tells you she wants and what her behavior screams at the top of its lungs. This is not about shaming anyone. This is not about dictating what anyone should or shouldn't wear. This is about your ability, as a man, to read reality instead of accepting a carefully constructed narrative. This is about pattern recognition. This is about survival intelligence. So let's get into it. Let me paint a picture for you. Not a specific person, a pattern. A pattern you've seen 100 times if you've been paying attention. She tells you, or she tells her social media audience, or she tells the guy sitting across from her at a coffee shop that she's done with superficial guys. She says she's looking for depth. She wants someone who reads books, who has substance, who can hold a real conversation. She says she's tired of the games, tired of the nonsense, tired of men who only care about one thing. And you hear those words, and something inside you responds, because you are that guy. You do read books. You do have depth. You've been waiting to hear a woman say exactly this. But here's where your eyes need to take over from your ears. Because this same woman, the one searching for depth, is spending 3 hours getting ready to go out on a Saturday night. She's choosing an outfit that leaves almost nothing to the imagination. The heels are high. The dress is tight. The neckline plunges. The makeup is layered for maximum visual impact. Everything about her physical presentation is engineered. And I use that word deliberately, engineered, to generate one specific response. Raw, immediate, physical attention from men. Now pause. Think about that. Really think about it. If you were genuinely, truly, deeply searching for intellectual connection, for a man of substance, for depth and meaning, would your strategy be to walk into the loudest, most chaotic, most alcohol-fueled environment in the city, dressed in a way that specifically triggers the most primal, least intellectual response a man is capable of? Of course not. That strategy doesn't match that goal, not even close. And this is the critical insight. When someone's strategy contradicts their stated goal, the strategy is telling you the truth. The stated goal is the lie. Let's talk about venue selection, because this is just as revealing as the clothing itself. Every environment carries a message. Where you choose to spend your time is a declaration of values, whether you realize it or not. The library says something different than the nightclub. The hiking trail says something different than the VIP section. The volunteer center says something different than the bottle service table. Now, I'm not saying there's anything morally wrong with nightclubs. That's not the point. The point is informational. The point is about reading signals accurately. A nightclub is an environment optimized for a very specific type of interaction. The music is too loud for deep conversation. The lighting is too dark for reading facial expressions in any nuanced way. The alcohol is flowing. The energy is chaotic, competitive, and sexually charged. The entire infrastructure of the space is designed to bypass the rational brain and activate the impulsive one. This is the environment she chose. Out of every possible place she could spend her Friday night, a jazz bar, a bookstore event, a cooking class, a friend's dinner party, a quiet rooftop with a glass of wine, She chose the one environment where depth is literally architecturally impossible. And she did it while wearing an outfit that functions as a visual advertisement. An advertisement for what, exactly? For her thoughts on philosophy? For her emotional intelligence? For her desire to discuss literature? You already know the answer. You've always known the answer. You were just taught to pretend you didn't. Here's the deeper psychological principle at work. People place themselves in environments where they expect to receive the validation they actually crave, not the validation they claim to want, the validation they actually, behaviorally, consistently pursue. If she craves intellectual appreciation, she places herself where intellect is valued. If she craves physical attention and status validation, she places herself where those currencies are traded. The environment never lies. It can't. It's a behavioral choice, not a verbal one. And behavioral choices are almost impossible to fake consistently. So why the contradiction? Why would someone say one thing and do the opposite so blatantly? This is where it gets genuinely interesting from a psychological perspective. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called impression management. It's the process by which people attempt to control the perceptions others have of them. And here's the key. Most impression management is not conscious deception. It's not a calculated lie. It's a deep, almost instinctive need to maintain a certain self-image. She genuinely believes. She wants depth. On a conscious level, that narrative is real to her. She has told herself that story so many times that it feels like truth. She identifies as the kind of woman who values substance. That identity is important to her self-concept, but identity and behavior are two different things. And when they conflict, behavior is always the more honest indicator. What's happening psychologically is a form of cognitive dissonance management. She experiences the conflict between "I want depth" and "I'm going to the club in a revealing dress," and her mind resolves that conflict not by changing the behavior, but by reframing it. "I'm just going out to have fun with my friends. I dress for myself, not for men." You can want depth and enjoy nightlife. And on a surface level, those rationalizations sound reasonable. That's what makes them so effective. They give her, and you, if you accept them, just enough logical cover to avoid confronting the obvious pattern. But you're smarter than that now, because you understand a fundamental truth about human psychology. The most revealing data about a person is never what they say about themselves. It's the pattern of small decisions they make when they think nobody is analyzing. The outfit she spent an hour choosing, the venue she picked over every alternative, the photos she posts, the attention she responds to versus the attention she ignores, the men she actually goes home with versus the men she claims to want. These micro-decisions, accumulated over time, form a behavioral profile that is far more accurate than any words she will ever speak. So where does this leave you, as a man trying to navigate the modern landscape? First, and I cannot stress this enough, this is not about anger. This is not about resentment. The moment you become angry at a woman for being who she actually is instead of who she told you she was, you've lost the plot. That anger is just the pain of a shattered illusion. And the illusion was your mistake, not hers. She didn't deceive you. She showed you everything. You just chose to listen to the words instead of watching the behavior. That's on you. And the beautiful thing is, once you accept that it's on you, you gain power, because now you can change it. Here's the practical framework. Rule 1, watch feet, not lips. This is an old intelligence principle. If you want to know what someone truly intends, watch where they go, not what they say. Where does she spend her time? Where does she invest her energy? Who does she surround herself with? What does her average Tuesday night look like? Not her idealized self-description on a dating profile. Rule 2, clothing is a behavioral choice. Every outfit is a decision. Every decision reflects a priority. A woman who dresses for intellectual environments is telling you something. A woman who dresses for nightclub environments is telling you something else. Neither is wrong, but they are different, and you need to know which signal you're receiving. Rule 3, Stop translating her words into your hopes. This is the biggest trap. She says, "I want depth," and you hear, "She would appreciate a man like me." But that translation is your projection, not her statement. Her actual statement is the totality of her behavior. Words included, but weighted appropriately, which means weighted far below actions. Rule 4. Judge the pattern, not the moment. Anyone can have one night out. Anyone can wear one provocative outfit for one occasion. That means nothing. What means everything is the pattern. Is the club a once-a-year event, or is it every weekend? Is the revealing outfit a special occasion choice, or is it the default setting? Patterns are data. Moments are noise. Learn the difference. Rule 5. Accept information without moralizing it. When you see the contradiction between her words and her behavior, your job is not to confront her, lecture her, or try to save her from herself. Your job is simply to update your mental model. She has shown you who she is. Adjust your expectations accordingly. Move silently. Choose wisely. Here's something that will serve you for the rest of your life if you truly internalize it. Women communicate in layers. This is not a criticism. It's an observation rooted in evolutionary psychology. For thousands of years, women's survival depended on social cohesion, on group acceptance, on managing perceptions within a community. Direct, blunt declarations of intent were often dangerous. Subtlety wasn't just preferred, it was a survival strategy. That legacy still operates deeply. What this means practically is that a woman's verbal communication often represents the socially optimal message, the thing that sounds best, that maintains the best image, that generates the most favorable response from the audience. "I want depth." That's a high-status statement. It positions her as discerning, as mature, as above the chaos. It's a social signal aimed at elevating her perceived value. But her behavioral communication, the clothing, the venues, the time allocation, the actual romantic choices she makes, represents the operational truth, not the press release, the internal memo, not the marketing campaign, the actual product. Your job as a man is to become fluent in both languages and to know which one to trust when they conflict. And here's the final piece of this puzzle, the one that ties everything together. You are not powerless in this dynamic. When you develop the ability to read behavior instead of just hearing words, you fundamentally change your position. You stop being the audience for her performance. You become the observer of her pattern. And from that position, you can make choices that serve your actual life, not the fantasy she's selling, but the reality she's living. So remember this: the next time you hear the words, "I'm looking for something real," don't argue, don't challenge, don't preach, just watch. Watch where she goes, watch what she wears, watch who she gives her time to. Watch the pattern of 100 small choices that she makes when she's not constructing a narrative for your benefit. Because the truth about what a person wants is never hidden. It's displayed every single day, in every outfit, every location, every repeated choice. The information is free. It's constant. It's screaming. All you have to do is stop listening to the words long enough to finally see it. I'll see you in the next one.